welcome to Learning Pro Intros. I'm Nicole from Your Instructional Designer, and I'm here today with Ani Kazarian. Ani, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, yeah. So I'm an instructional designer, mostly focusing on e-learning, various forms of content, video, script, PowerPoint, webinar, whatever, text, assessments. And I'm also a writer and editor, so it's been kind of a fun way of combining both passions for learning and writing.
Definitely. Do you have a favorite thing to do inside of the instructional design bubble?
Well, I guess the newest thing for me is like creating online videos, kind of using, what we would in PowerPoint or instructor-led trainings and turning them into online learning. So learning to do video and audio and voiceover and cutting. And so that's been kind of the newest for me. So I'd say that's the funnest right now.
Oh, that sounds really neat. Did you think you'd be doing stuff like that when you started to dive into the ID field?
No, never. When I started instructional design, I just thought it was so fun that I got to work with so many different kinds of content and subject matter experts. So I was constantly exposed to new material and learning. And at the time, I was really just developing curriculum. So like diving deeply into content and then trying to figure out the best way to teach that to the target audience. But I never thought I'd be getting into like infographics and creating videos and doing voiceovers myself. But I think that's the funnest part of instructional design, is that you're always learning new skills.
Definitely. It's such a cool field for that reason. There's so many ways you can kind of work yourself into it. So how did you start? Did you go to school to become an instructional designer, or what was your path?
No, it's I think it's really funny the way it evolved, and I think people who truly understand what instructional design is think that it's like I was like created for this, but people who don't maybe really know what instructional design entails might think that it's strange that I fell into it. But so for many years, I was in human resources, and I was the HR manager for an e-commerce company of about 200 people. And naturally in that role, you find yourself focusing on professional development because that kind of resolves any other HR issue that comes up, or I think so.
Definitely. If you're doing it right.
While I was doing that, while I was an HR manager, I was going to graduate school, getting my MFA in literature and writing. And then, so I started teaching from that. So I was still doing HR, but I was also teaching language arts in an after-school program, and I just loved it. And then I got kind of recruited into instructional design by a learning agency, and they were just kind of like, you've gotten your master's in writing, you have experience teaching, and you have experience in corporate HR. That's like the dream instructional design.
Yeah, like the trifecta hit right there.
And then, and I was ready for a change, so I went with it, and I loved it, and I've never looked back. I love doing instructional design.
That's so cool. Do you have a favorite project you've ever worked on?
Oh my goodness, that's hard. I don't know that I could say that I do, because like I've had favorite SMEs that I've worked with. I've had, favorite approaches, I've always loved working with teams, so I get to like collaborate with animators and things like that, but I also love doing it alone and like find myself creating all the graphics and, but I can't say that I do have a favorite project. I think I've loved them all in different ways.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And just for those folks who have never worked in this field, me is a subject matter expert. Is there like a dream client for you, like someone you hope to work with in the future?
I have to say that I kind of feel like I'm doing that now. I just started a project working on a course training college and university professors. And to me, that's the dream, because I love academia and I love higher education. And so many times I've met like just the most brilliant people that are extremely talented in their field, and it would be a disservice to humanity if they didn't share their knowledge, but they just were never taught how to teach.
Right. That's a huge thing. Definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, so for me, that's kind of, I feel like I'm working on the dream right now.
Oh, that's so cool. So it sounds like you made the right career choice. But, some of the people who are watching this are either really new to the field and kind of figuring out where they can go, or they're just thinking about whether they want to be in the learning industry in the many ways they can participate. Is there some kind of advice you would give to them?
I think advice is you'll never really know what it is until you start doing it. And the more you do it, the more aspects of it you uncover. But I think the most important thing I've learned on every project is that never assume. So don't assume that if something doesn't make sense, it's just because you're not getting it. Or if things don't add up, don't assume that the client knows what they're doing. And not that they don't know what they're doing. They're the professional, they've hired you, right? So if it's not making sense to you, like 99% of the time, it's not going to be making sense to the students or the learners. So anytime something doesn't add up, dig deeper until you have a very clear picture of what you're designing and why and for who.
Those are such great points, especially about your expertise, especially for folks who are new to the field. You still do know more about instruction and learning than your client who hired you. So be willing to make that, make a little noise, or I like that, the dig deeper. I'm about to get my shovel out.
Yeah, because there's always a reason for why something doesn't add up. And even if you're working with the CLO, I mean, they might have much more experience in learning and development than you do, but the reality is that they're focused on a very different aspect of it. So they still need your expertise. So no matter what, just keep going.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yes, awesome.
Exactly.
So is there anything else that you would want to say to people who are new or aspiring to the learning industry, or just folks, hanging out at home, that we haven't talked about already?
Anything additional? I mean, I just think that instructional design sooner or later, and I think we're seeing that now, that it's an inevitable part of our future. So all of us, regardless of our role or position or industry, we're going to find ourselves in a position of needing to know some instructional design skills. So I think just jump in now because it's inevitable.
That's so true. It's coming. Yeah. And so we're recording right now, and it's like pandemic week. COVID-19 has definitely hit the US, and we're talking about it now. So this might change if you're watching it a few months from now, but at this moment, we're definitely going through a change, and you can see people are asking online, and teachers are being expected to work from home and start doing the online instruction without much of a background. So I think you're right, Ani. I think things are going to change, and people are going to have some of this knowledge going forward.
Yeah. And I think, what's more important than knowing how to share our knowledge?
Nothing. No. At least in this field.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, Ani.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you after. And for those of you watching, I hope you'll join us for the next episode as well. And this is Ani Kazarian. If you want to go look her up, her details are in the description below. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.